Great. Okay, so we're going to call to order the meeting tonight at Monday, November 21st at 7:01. And we're going to start. We're going to do
Sheila, excuse me, Sheila, if you could just identify the fact that who we are.
Yep. Okay.
Westwood
Recreation
Commission
is starting their November meeting at November 21st, 7:01. We're going to start the public comment and then we consent to the agenda, right, Rich?
Sure. And there currently is no one in the waiting room.
Great. Okay, perfect. All right, so we'll move on to consent to agenda. So the minutes from last month were sent out by Angela.
So before we get there, if we can just take a vote to agree to the agenda for tonight.
Okay.
And then we'll get to the minutes.
Great. Okay, so let's do the agenda for tonight. All in
to go forth with tonight's agenda.
Second.
And then a roll call vote.
Okay, so we are going to Paul.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and yeah, so Rania is an associate member, correct?
Correct. So she doesn't have a.
All right, so Katie.
Yes, I approve.
Perfect. And
then-
Sheila, I approve.
Right. And then you just need to call on Fuad and Teresa as well.
Oh, okay, Fuad
Agreed.
and Teresa.
Agree.
Great, okay.
Okay.
And now we're gonna do the agenda for consent to the meeting minutes from last month. I need someone to approve.
I'll approve.
Katie approve.
Second.
Teresa second. All right, we're gonna go Fuad.
Agreed.
Teresa,
Agree.
Katie,
Agree.
Paul,
I agree.
and Sheila, I agree. Okay, now we're gonna move on to commission members, right?
Well, we'll just do the monthly report
Oh, okay. Approve the minutes, improve the monthly report. Great.
for
Okay.
October. So I'll just take you through a couple of the highlights. And of course, if you all have any questions or comments about anything on there, I'm happy to speak to them. One of the things that we did this fall that was new and significant was we joined a Metro West Field Hockey League for 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th graders. And it was a great season, and we believe that it will something that we can grow on in the future and maybe even include some of the younger grades as well. So that's something that Joe Bertoni worked on with he had been working, this is our second year of having field hockey programs, and the individual who came to us to start this suggested that we run the league, and he had some parents who participated, and it went quite well. It was a lot of fun for the kids, and so hopefully next year we'll be able to expand upon that, not only in numbers, but in terms of the breadth of the program with different grades. Second, I wanted to highlight that this was the first season where we offered some inclusive sports programs with a contractor, Inclusion Sports. And generally speaking, it was a good experience. We had a few hiccups, but not any greater than what you would expect from any new vendor. And we'll be using them again this winter. And if things continue to grow, I expect that we'll use them for a while, as long as it keeps going well. So we're happy to see that worked out, and that we'll be able to continue the relationship into our winter programming. And then the only other key update that I'll have is just say generally that the pool continues to be quite busy. Lap swim is full. Our programming continues to be robust, and the rentals are quite significant as well. The pool is open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. 5 days a week, and then on the weekends on Saturday and Sunday as well for rentals and swim lessons. So it's quite active. It's an asset. It's a great asset for the town and one that continues to be utilized to the fullest.
Richard, I have one quick question.
Sure.
I know over the summer, you did a survey to all the parents who did summer programs.
Mhm.
Are you gonna do that same thing for like the inclusion program, the field hockey group, or was that just a summer survey?
So we got such a really good response to the survey, and we were able to do it in a pretty efficient manner that I think that we've decided that we're going to do so at the end of each season.
Awesome.
So so we won't just limit it to the inclusion. Well, of course, we will include the inclusion programs, but it won't be limited to those. It'll be to all the programs that we run.
Awesome.
And you know, of course, you know, the number of participants that we have in the fall is significantly less than it is during the summer, but still it's a significant number. We had over 1,000 registrations this fall. And I want to say we got about a 30% response rate. So we'll still get some significant numbers of responses if that's the case. So yes, we do intend on continuing them. The idea is to keep the survey very simple and very quick so that it's easy to get the response. And the primary question is, how did you, rate your experience in the program 1 to 5? That's a mandatory question. Then we have 2 optional questions if you'd like to provide feedback, anything that you felt was positive or anything that any improvements that you might suggest. Those are optional, but that way we're not bogging people down spending 15 minutes on a survey. We feel that a quick perspective of how they what their experience was like will give us an indication of whether or not it's a good program or not, and if they want to add to it, they can, but they don't have to. And that way we feel it maximizes response rates.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions about the monthly report? No?
No.
Okay. So I guess we can move on to the commission members. Sheila?
Okay, so last meeting, I proposed that we do an in-person meeting because half of our commission are new people and we have not sat down face to face with them. So I was to review the other town committees and find out if they're doing in person or not. And what I found out is the Board of Health is basically the only one that's doing in-person meetings. The rest of them are still on Zoom. I know that the city of Boston has gone back to being face-to-face instead of working remotely. And I think eventually it's going to happen that they're going to encourage everyone to go back to the way it was prior to COVID. But for now, everyone is still doing Zooms from the comfort of their home. So until that changes, or if you guys want something different, if you want to meet in person, you can do that too. According to the Board of Health, it's up to each committee to make that decision. But I'll do whatever you guys want to do.
Zoom works for me with 2 little kids. It's easy for me to just get on at 7 with my husband's schedule when he gets home. I would be and like with winter and darkness and cold, I'm okay doing it through the winter. And if we want to revisit it in the spring, or each month, we can do that too. I can go either way. It doesn't matter.
Okay, great.
I agree. I could go either way with whatever the team decides.
Yeah, same here. I'm very flexible either way.
Conveniently, this is great. I'm a mom of 3 kids, so convenient wise, but I do also agree with the original philosophy of the question of, meeting face to face. We could all have that face to face interaction. It was nice meeting people at Westwood Day. So I'm kind of more on board of Katie of taking it maybe December, January, February, and in February, as it starts getting warmer and lighter outside, at that juncture, do we say, okay, April, March, going forward, do we start meeting back in person? I just think going into December and especially January, I just feel like our lives for everyone gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And I don't think anyone really gets an reprieve until February. And I think that's when we kind of have our feet back on the ground, being like, okay, I don't know what just happened, but let's keep moving forward.
So I'm pretty certain, don't quote me on the date, but I think that the extension was granted till April. So I think that in April, we have no choice, but unless they change it again or update it. But as of right now, I think by April, we would have to go back.
And when you mean extension, you mean the use of the Zoom?
Correct.
All right, so let's revisit this again, like in March, or when, as Teresa said, when the winter season's done, see how we're all feeling. And if the committees are all starting to get back in person again, I would suggest that we then would take a vote again to get back in person for the regular meetings.
It almost sounds like we might not even have a choice. We'll just be back in person too, right?
Eventually.
Yeah. Because I agree with you. I think I saw somebody in Roach Brothers the other day and I was like, is that, I don't know. Could it be? I don't want to be that person screaming in the construction. Someone's name down one of the corridors. So I totally understand the intent. I truly do.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to Katie with summer registration.
I actually reached out to Rich and I was never able to circle back with him. But I just had a suggestion to see if it would be possible to open summer camp registration earlier than the rest of the summer program registration. And my only thought was, I know a lot of surrounding towns have started their camp registrations. I know a lot of the private camps have started too, which is crazy. And I fully just want to recognize that it is November and people are signing kids up for camp. But I also think that it might, I don't know, it might just help people kind of organize, or I know that they're signing up for other camps, but they're not knowing if they're going to be able to get into their weeks for Westwood Rec, because I know that's also competitive. So it was just an idea. I wanted to throw it out there.
Where do we stand with the possibility of having in-town residents register previous to out-of-town residents or out-of-town applications, I should say?
Sure. So I spoke to town administrator about that, and as a general principle, he's okay with moving forward. Okay, the only other thing that we need to do is figure out and speak to the our registration platform company, Sportsman, and just work through how that would be possible. As far as we know, there is no automated way to set it up, and it would require setting up all of our programs for just residents, and then after the period of time, which we said was going to be 24 hours, we would have to go in one by one and flip the programs over, which during the non-summer months would take us about a half an hour to do. In the summer months, because we have so many more programs and each program is multiple weeks, it would take several hours of manually flipping them over. And so I'd like to try to see if we can find a technology solution before we commit to it. It's doable. It's just a lot of extra administrative work. And so we just need to figure out if that's possible to do technology wise.
Okay.
So I have a couple of comments on that, Rich. I mean, that sounds, if we do decide to go that first, we should probably get an estimate of cost and what it would be for the company to allow us to make that change, right?
Sure.
Before we, if you can get a cost on that.
Yep.
The second thing is maybe, outside the box, not do it for every course that's listed, and having everybody do all, everybody waste their time. I don't mean to say waste their time, but if folks could, if we pick the courses that are like the ones that everybody wants to get into, the real popular ones, and then we just do it for those 5 or those 10, would significantly change everybody's perspective on whether they can get in or not. So I don't know.
I don't know if you could
Just
do that. I think you're either all in or you're all out. I don't think we can select courses because you're setting a precedent doing that.
Agreed.
So could you do it maybe like 3 days in advance? That gives the team a lot more time to flip them over, no?
No,
that's a
you
good
have,
idea.
the way you'd have to do it, and now we're getting really into the weeds here, but the way we'd have to do it is set it up for residents only. And then once the 24 hours passes, or whatever, the 24 hours of a business day, we would have to go in and open them up and allow for non-residents. So you can't do it in advance. It has to be after the time is
No,
passed.
I mean, the gap between the residents and non-residents, why does it have to be 24 and not 72 hours?
Well, it can be, but I think that you all agreed and voted on 24 hours. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But I mean, whatever the time frame is.
That doesn't change though the effort anyway. It still would have to be done when like right before the 72 hours ended, it would have to flip over.
Oh,
Right,
so it's
and
right
it-
before the back end. Okay, it's not.
Yeah,
during.
it's not a,
Right,
yeah.
you can't do it in advance. Once the time has passed, whatever you set it to be, we would have to then go in and switch it to allow for non-residents.
I guess what I'm
And-
saying is if you do it like on a Monday, 24 hours later, you close it down, you give yourself 2 days to flip it, and then you reopen it, or is that too complicated?
Well, we'd have to shut down registration for, at that point, for everybody to do what you're suggesting, I think. And I'm not sure that would be productive. I don't want, once we open registrations, I would prefer not to close them. I don't know if that would achieve our goals.
Rich, when you talk to the people that we're using the registration format with, can you find out if any of them have run into a situation like this before? Because I'm sure this has been like something that they customize, that you know, here's this little package added on to
Right.
the software.
Yeah. So that exactly. And so that's part of what we'll be doing this month, is working with them. And the goal is to have this in place for our spring registration, one way or the other. The one thing that I don't want to do is test this out for our summer. We want to have one under our belt for a non-summer season. And so the goal is to have it for our spring registration, which will be near the end of February. And if it all goes well, we'll be able to do it for summer as well, which, as you know, will be in the second week of March on Saturday. So that definitely, I do not want to test this out on the summer programming.
So
Okay.
going back to Katie's question, is there a possibility to move registration up? Because like I just got 4 emails like from Hale, DCD, and Nobles asking if I want to do their summer program.
Okay,
Right.
so now you're addressing a private day camp as opposed to a town day camp. So Katie, if you had no other town day camps that do the summer registration earlier, not private, because we're not private.
I know,
You
I'm just giving you an example. I was just saying an example that I see where Katie's coming from, because I know myself have received emails. I've never even gone to these camps asking if I'd want to attend the camp. So I can understand the platform for Katie's question about how people are already getting this.
Yeah, but they're private. We're talking, you're looking at the town of Westwood. So if you know, like the town of Dover does this, or the town of Medfield does this, then I'm like, oh, all right, let's look into that. You can't compare town of Westwood with DCD or Nobles, or they're private.
I don't necessarily know if other towns split them, but I know other towns register for camps earlier than March. So that was my only request.
Okay, so like when you say, you know, so the next meeting, can you have like 3 towns that do it, so we could just compare apples to apples?
So what I can tell you anecdotally, and from my participation in the MRPA Metro West meetings, is that there are a few towns that do it a week or 2 earlier. There are some that do it after us. We're probably in the middle. I can't say exactly where we are in the middle. Like I said, I haven't done an exact survey, but I know we're not first and I know we're not last. There's several considerations. The first, of course, and Sheila, you picked up on it, comparing to any of the private camps that just do camp during the summer and that's all they do. They start planning for next summer in September, right? They don't run programs like we do in the fall, winter, and spring. We literally just finished our winter programming The brochures, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, just got into the mail today. We haven't even started talking about spring yet. We do spring and summer programming planning sort of simultaneously because they come out together in the spring and summer brochure, which comes out in mid-February. So it's extraordinarily difficult to start planning for summer when we haven't even talked about spring yet, and we just wrapped up the winter planning. So and it goes beyond that in terms of complication, because if we were to just do camp, for instance, which is I think that's all you were asking about, Katie, not necessarily all of our other programs, but a lot of families sign up for some of the specialty programs like musical theater, perhaps baseball clinic or whatever, and then they fill in the remaining weeks with camp. And if they don't know what weeks they're going to get for those other programs, they register. It's going to create a lot of transfers when people sign up for camp, and then when they get the other programs later in the year, and there's going to be a remarkable amount of administrative work moving people from one program to the other, and that's not something that we have the resources to do. And I just don't. I think it would create so much confusion. It would sort of liken it back to 4 or 5 years ago when we had, before we changed the registration system and the way that we used to take just camp registrations. We had like 150 people on the wait list, and it took us until the beginning of May to get them all cleared. And by then, many other people had already moved on to do other things, and we never wound up filling the spots. And it was a massive administrative effort, and it would be a similar type effort to that, not the same, but similar. And so I think that there would be a lot of unintended consequences if we just opened camp, because of all the other programs which are very popular that people would want to get into too, and create all those transfers. So I think that we're best served if we leave it as one date, all of our programs, and then the families sign up for what they want and fill it in with camp. Sorry, my dog is barking. Let her out. Hold on.
I get it. So when my guys were in camp, I remember one thing that was tough is we used to sign up for swimming lessons during the camp time. That means that now you'd have to put the swimming lesson summer schedule in to an earlier time then as well, or the activities, whatever activities you're going to do, as well as the camp. So I understand now how everything else is related to all that.
Yeah. So I understand the idea and concept, and we're certainly, it's going to be impossible for us to compete with the summer only camps that's all they do. And the other towns, again, as far as I know, most of them start mid-February, some go late into March, early April. So we're, like I said, anecdotally, we're right down the middle with the other town rec departments.
Okay, you ready to move on to director and staff report?
Sure. Sorry, just give me a minute here. Lost my place.
Anna, you all set? Is your recorder, I mean, your voice working?
Oh, yeah, sorry, that was.
Okay, okay, good.
When I joined, I could hear you and see you, but I couldn't see myself, so I had a feeling I wasn't a panelist yet.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I put that in,
Good.
because I tried talking. Yeah. I was gonna say I'm happy to meet in person, but I'm fine to do it this way too, so.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, I gotta let my deck got out of order here. So I'm happy to report that we have hired a new aquatics specialist. She started last Monday, so she's got a week under her belt. She's terrific so far, and that was a long time to fill that position, but we got a very good person, so we're quite happy about that.
Great.
And what I'll try to do maybe for next meeting is have her join the next Zoom so that you can you can all meet her. And what I was actually thinking about doing, because a lot of you are new, and I'm not sure if all of you have had a chance to meet the team. So depending what we have, some of the aquatics people are actually working right now because we have swim team and whatnot. So I might not be able to get everybody on, but I thought it might be a good idea to bring the team in and just introduce themselves, since a lot of you may or may not know everybody, and just put names to the faces on an org chart, right? So I'll try to arrange that for next meeting. Okay. So so the next item is the our winter programming, which will start on January 2nd. The brochure was dropped off at the post office today. I included a full copy of the brochure, not knowing that it was going to be in the mail today, but I wanted to show you a few different things about the brochure. First of all, you may notice, if you've had a chance to pan through it, we have quite a few new programs this go around, and we're trying to obviously choose the programs that historically have done well, but also improve our offerings, if you will, or increase our offerings by offering new things. A few of the one of the highlights that Joe Bertoni is starting is the Teen Leadership Council, and it's basically just a program where teens will come in and talk about various topics. And the idea is to get these individuals interested in recreation and being, and maybe even eventually working for us, whether it be for the summer or during the school year and whatnot. And something that he had run in a previous job that was quite successful, and we want to see if we can't get that going here. We also have a similar type program for young women, and I think that will be interesting too, if we can get some momentum there. But the good news is it's in the mail today, so it should be in mailboxes tomorrow or Wednesday, which actually was our goal, to get it in the post office. So we beat our goal by a couple of days. And registration will begin on December 9th, which I believe is a Friday at 10 a.m. Okay, so we will be, if you notice, and a lot of our patrons will go out to our registration site and see the programs as we load them. So over the next 2 weeks, we'll start loading them in, and they'll all be ready to by December 9th at 10 a.m. Okay.
Which I love that a lot of the additions are non-sports things. I feel like it really rounds out the programming for Westwood.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting to see. And so many, I love the big inclusive stamps too. I think it's nice. It kind of points it out. I don't know if this is the time to talk about it too, but I had a lot of friends who went to the inclusive night out.
Yeah.
Loved it. And they didn't want to
Which
get
one? Not the one on Friday, or the one a month from the prior?
The one on Friday. But, yeah. And they had so much fun. And I mean, I got emails from my daycare. I got emails from our school promoting it. So I feel like there was a lot of promotion behind it too, which was really great to see too.
Right. So, it's interesting. Some of the inclusive programs that we have, we want folks to understand that it's for everyone. Neurodiverse, neurotypical children. These programs are being designed to integrate neurodiverse and neurotypical children for several reasons, one of which is to help them learn to interact with each other and promote social skills, but also in the setting of recreation, whatever the particular activity is, with the primary goal of them having fun together, but also to promote social skills, social interaction. So we have a team of BCBAs and behavioral therapists, and working on curriculum to help the instructors promote those goals. So, and we also have, as you've heard me mention many times, we have a parent advocate who works with us on this programming, and she has been very active in helping get these programs promoted through what I would say non-traditional means from our perspective, right? So our primary means of promotion is through our brochure and our social media, and she's been reaching out to other venues to get these programs, you know, in the public eye and garner interest. And so, you know, we thank her for that, and I think that it was very successful this go around. And we have another one of these coming up in December too, and our intent is to continue these. And you know, and you know, this one was better attended than the first one. The first one competed with a Halloween night, I guess. we got pretty low enrollment on the first one, but that was okay because it was the first one and we had some kinks to work out. And it's my understanding that this one on Friday night went extremely well. And I've heard similar feedback to what you shared, Katie, that a lot of folks really enjoyed it. So.
Yeah. Are you going to send a feedback form out to those families that participated?
Oh, absolutely. That'll be part of our season wrap up. Yep.
I'm almost wondering, Richard, can it be done like within, say, 2 or 3 days of that activity ending? And the only reason I say that is because, like, I know for field hockey, it ended, I want to say 3 weeks ago. And
sounds about right.
Yeah, and as we start pulling out further and further away, I just know myself and all that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I will click. I mean, Susie did have a very great experience, but I don't know if I can give the accolades to all the people who I would have remembered if it was, say,
Sure.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, let me take that back to the team, Teresa, and say just making sure that we're juggling a lot of different balls and that we can do that. I don't see why not, but I want to check with the team first and make sure. And maybe in certain isolated cases that would make more sense than maybe just blanketly saying we'll do that for each program as it ends. There's just a lot of administration that goes behind it, and we want to do it in a controlled manner. But conceptually, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, or just like you said, like maybe for some of them, like this one, we know that there's been so much people in town who have come forward to talk about this topic, and
sure.
It'd be really great to get that real-time feedback on what can go better even for this one. So
right.
What was great. So people I know loved it. So I'm sure the positive feedback will be pretty positive.
Yep.
How many kids were there?
We were at max registration, but one got sick, so I think we were at 17.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. So
just wait till I just forgot the restaurant next to the Muffin House. Nero
with an N, right?
Yeah, when the restaurant opens, it would be the hottest ticket in town. Park, walk, cocktails, and back.
Oh. All right. All right. Yep. So any other questions or about programming, whether it be fall or winter?
I don't know if I guess I do have a comment about this, about programs. So I know, Rich, you guys have been doing a great job on, getting into expanding the inclusive program.
Yeah.
And I think maybe at some point, I think it's, I'm just bringing this up because maybe we can get it in our minds, but at some point we should probably, or maybe we could think about hiring inclusive kids to maybe work in our program. And I'm not sure how that would work.
You mean neurodiverse children?
I do. Because there are some programs out there. I have friends whose kids are, doing useful functions and, out there in the real world, and maybe we could do something about it here.
Sure.
So again, it's something that requires a lot of thought, a lot of help from HR and how to handle it. And I just want to throw that out there for us to start thinking about it.
There's probably programs too where they'd be looking to help find jobs for neurodiverse children as well, that maybe we could, talk to.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? I'm not making that up, right? There's,
So like ARC down the street, one of
Yeah.
the things that they do is they send out a individual who needs support with an adult, with a stereotypical adult, to support that person in whatever jobs that they are being assigned to. But they also are expected to kind of get a paycheck and to get whatever it would be, whatever is, if it was a typical application. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff you have to do to go through that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It'd be interesting just to see what we can do to help on that thing. But again, I think this is something we have to take a step back, not jump into it right away, but something to think of down the road after we get the program up and running. Well, it is up and running. I'm sorry, but get it further down the line is what I should
Right.
say.
Yep, this is going to be a long journey of what
Yep.
we do in this regard, and so we'll continue to build it out in a manageable way so that it's sustainable, and I think that's a great idea and can be part of our long-term plans. You know, where it fits on that journey, I don't know at this point, but you know, we're still trying to focus on program development and making getting resources so that we can do this in a sustainable way.
Right.
Yeah. So absolutely. All right. Any other questions or comments about our programming? No? All right. So I've got a couple of updates for you all with regards to fields and facilities. The first one being the pool deck. You may recall we put this out for bid earlier this year, and it came back quite significantly more expensive than the engineers had predicted. We got all the finances sorted and went back out for bid this fall, and we now have a vendor, and we had the kickoff meeting, and all of the we had a kickoff meeting last week. The current they're in the process now of ordering all the supply, which there's a decent amount of lead time, like 10 weeks for the tile and what have you. The goal is to start on March 1st and have it completed by the end of March with 2 weeks of buffer to get us through mid-April. So we have a project, we have everything's in motion, and that 50-year-old pool deck, which is in great shape considering it's 50 years old, will be brand new by the spring.
Nice.
Okay, so that's the good news.
And now.
moving on to pickleball. Unfortunately, I don't have very good news with pickleball. So the site that we had been looking at for the past 6 months, as you know, and I had talked about, was the piece of land, that small piece of land next in between COA and Thurston, is no longer a viable solution. So we do not have a pickleball project at this point until we can find another piece of land.
What's wrong with the land? Can we ask?
Pardon me?
What's wrong with the land?
Well, there's some just concerns about, you know, when the school will eventually need to, you know, work on Thurston, that they may need that land and they don't want to cede control of the land and whatnot. So, yeah.
but they won't give us control of the Sheehan tennis courts either, which would be a good site.
Yeah.
So, and this is something the town really wants. So what can we as a commission do to?
I unfortunately don't have an answer for you right now. I mean, we've got to find a separate piece of land. One of the things that we talked about potentially was using the land by First Parish. You may recall a couple of years ago, they contemplated putting an 11v11 field up there. That has I don't want to say problem, but the challenge with that would be that, you know, you would probably have to put in some parking up there, and that adds to the cost. So it becomes a financial issue at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But that land is available. you know, maybe someday after Hanlon Deerfield is done, and this is all maybes. You know, if the town takes control of Deerfield, there's land there to do potentially. So we've been kicking that around. So yeah.
So would there be a potential even to just do a quick top coat over in Sheehan to do
So,
anything?
so maybe it's not as easy as that, though. I was talking to DPW actually today about that very possibility. And last time we talked about, well, they're doing the roads, you know, could they just come over and slap a coat of tarmac down on top of it? Well, Brendan didn't seem to think it would be that easy. First of all the road work next spring is going to be done on the other side of town, so it wouldn't just be stop by and do it. And he said the machinery is different. Again, this goes down, you know, this is highly technical. I forget the box spreader, I think of the term is the term that he used. It would be different for this project than it would be for the road, so it would require different equipment. So we need to get it bid out. He seemed to think it would cost about 30 grand to do it, and that was a very loose, rough estimate, which is not too different than what I had in mind with what was done on the tennis courts on the other side of that campus a couple of years ago now. As it was a little bit more for the other ones, but I think that's a bigger area. So it ballpark 30 grand, maybe 40 would be the number. But there's complicating factors. There's a curb there, and there's also the fence. So the fence would have to be dealt with before you could put, and again, you'd have to take it down or whatever. So it's not just as simple as a truck showing up, dropping down some tarmac and spreading around and flattening it out. So, and then given the condition of the current substructure, what's there, he said you'd be lucky to get 3 to 5 years out of it.
Richard, I don't remember the name of it, but I know there's like a park or like a hiking trail near the gas station in Sheehan. And I feel I'm at a loss of words of what that name of that hiking.
Key, I think.
I'm sorry?
Zen Key or something like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I think you're right.
Yes,
Is
correct.
that town property, or is that your trustee? Like, what is that?
No, I somehow it's associated with Hale. I don't know but it's not
Yeah.
town.
It is Hale property.
It is Hill. Okay. I just
part
wondering.
of it.
It's conservation land, Teresa.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah. It's
So
part-
3 years use, though, would that tide us over until we could get?
But, and think about it, the 3 to 5 year use, I mean, a year and a half ago, we were talking about Sheehan's not gonna be touched for 5 to 7 years.
Mhm.
So that would be about the time that it would get ripped up anyways, if they had to.
I agree.
Right, and it might give us something until, well, I don't know, unless it was gonna be marked as pickleball lines, I guess it might not be useful for pickleball. We have the.
Well, if
have
we
the
were to
lines
do
over
something
down.
like that, I think if we were to do what you're suggesting, we would certainly have it marked for pickleball lines. I mean, that would be the point of doing it, right?
So, I mean, is there someone in the town that you could say, hey, the rec commission, if we decide to make a recommendation that if we can't have Thurston, let's do Sheehan until Deerfield is settled, until there's other viable options.
Right. So happy to do that. I'll talk to Chris. The last, and this is something that literally just came to me a week ago. Okay. So it's literally hot off the presses. Right. And so given what else was due last week, it only had a little bit of time to work on it. So we talked about potential other sites. I need to loop back with Chris, and this will be part of the conversation. Is this even a temporary, you know, is there any appetite to spend money there? The answer was, and again, keep in mind that this question was already asked, okay, and the answer was no. But I'll bring it back up, especially in light of the recent setbacks, to see if there's any appetite to spend money at that site to do something. And you know, I'll report back next time.
Thank you.
So I wish I had better news on that. Believe me, I was really pumped on this one. I thought this was going to work. I've been working on this for like 6 months, and actually dropped a little bit of money on it in and of itself with the engineering work. So,
Yeah.
which is transferable. I mean, that it's not a throwaway, but it's just, it's on the shelf now until,
Right.
yeah, until we find another site. So let's say that's a banked project right now. All right.
Okay.
All right, that was all I had. Sheila?
Yeah.
Any-
Well, next month is December. Do you guys want to skip December and meet in January? Or you want to meet in December? Do you have anything coming up that's a big deal in December that we need to address, Rich?
Not necessarily, no. You know, I'm just, you know, like I say, that my primary focus right now, other than just, you know, regular deliverables, the big project I'm working on is the inclusion stuff, and still working on, you know, gathering data from other towns and putting together a cohesive strategy for that moving forward. And you know, whether or not I'll have an update then or not, I don't know. Maybe. We've made a lot of progress in the past couple months, and but I can't say for certain. So,
Well,
you know,
should
and
we-
then the only other updates I might have with it would be any additional information I find out about pickleball. You know, by then our winter programs, pardon me, our fall programs will be wrapped up, but we will not have started our winter programs yet. So there won't be much of a program update next time either. So,
So why don't we keep the date and then make a decision at a later time then?
so the date would be the 19th. That's the third Monday.
Is anyone not around for the 19th? Okay. Let's keep the 19th.
I may have a business trip, but I can try and do it from the hotel that night.
Okay.
The one thing, if I could just take a half a step back, just as a preview, the only other item that I'll probably put on the next agenda, whether it be next month or in January, would be the bylaws. There's a few changes that will need to be made to the bylaws. These have been being reviewed as part of the charter, the town charter review committee, and I attended a meeting about that today and saw some inconsistencies, and so we'll just need to vet those a little bit, and I'll bring those to the next meeting.
Okay.
Well, there's a few topics right there, so we might as well
Yeah.
keep it.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm happy to, and again, there's nothing wrong even if it's just a few topics, nothing wrong with a quick short meeting.
There you go.
Good. Okay.
So the 19th at 7 p.m.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So now, do I need a motion to adjourn?
You just want to bring up anything else that anybody wants to bring up that could be considered reasonably unanticipated. Anyone?
No.
Beautiful. All right. Motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
And Katie second.
Sure.
So I'm going to go through the list. I got Teresa, motion to adjourn.
Agree.
Faoud,
Agree.
Katie,
Agree.
Paul,
Agreed.
Ann,
Agreed.
and I agree. Sheila agrees. Okay, so I am going to end our meeting at 7:49 on Monday, November 21st. See you all next month.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.